Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums today with another tarot spreads video. And like I've stated before, you don't have to just use these suggestions or these spreads for just tarot cards. They're just more traditionally going to be more tarot spreads out there that you can use, or more people like to kind of utilize tarot spreads as a means of kind of understanding what is going on. So today I'm calling this like a DIY spread. And I already pulled some cards. I just kind of wanted to talk about it because I was just trying to get some clarity on some stuff in my life. And I was like, you know what, I can make a video and we can kind of see where this goes and how I would read this as an example. So a DIY spread is essentially do it yourself. This is where you're not really following maybe something that's already pre-written or established, or something that like you have found that maybe you're like, oh, that'll fit like my situation. I like to do a lot of DIY spreads for clients, for myself, as I find that it's more of like a very intuitive way of reading versus having like a very set spread with each position having a very specific question or a very specific area that you're focusing on. Now, I do love a spread. As you can tell, I've been trying to share different spreads that I've used for years, things that I like to do. But I also wanted to kind of add in this kind of practice because to me, it is much more about trusting yourself, kind of going with the flow, kind of understanding what feels right for you, not feeling very stuck or kind of like rigid when it comes to your readings or how you should read or what kind of spreads you should use for reading. Excuse me. So for this spread, I just had the intention of trying to get a little bit of clarity with a certain aspect of my life and some of the choices that maybe I need to make, as well as just trying to maybe get a little confirmation if I'm like on the right track with possibly, choosing my own adventure in a different way and kind of moving away from some of the things that I've been doing. So to give a little bit of context, I own another business, and it is doing professional home cleaning, residential cleaning, and also like Airbnbs and things of that nature. And so my schedule's gotten a little chaotic. I've continued to take on different clients. And so as some have kind of fallen off or have not been really consistent with me, I've kind of struggled to keep making space for them in my very busy schedule at the moment, especially as I continue to take on more consistent clients or try to kind of take on projects that feel a little bit more aligned with what I would like to continue doing. It's been a little bit challenging in different ways. So I've had a couple clients that have been really inconsistent with me or have been very just not a good fit, I think, personality wise. And I think there's this part of me that feels bad about having to kind of let some of these situations or relationships go, so to speak, just because I have been very intentional about who I'm taking on as a client. And so I was kind of asking my cards like what I should focus on and kind of like what I should be doing. So while I was kind of focusing on what should I do and kind of like what's some guidance or what's some stuff I can kind of keep in mind, I started pulling the cards. That's why they're already pulled. So the very first card I have here is the Seven of Cups. And essentially, to me, this is, since it's not like a specific position, it's not like I've asked a specific question of this card. I've just kind of said, hey, this is my dilemma. What do I need to know kind of thing. And so the Seven of Cups is kind of showing a little bit of that energy, those choices, illusions. Maybe not everything that is offered up to me is going to be something that is of benefit. There is a sense of maybe not seeing things quite so clearly, being a little too focused and too caught up in like trying to make the right choice. And that is something that I have been struggling with, is that I really want, like I said, I want to be very intentional about who I'm taking on as a client and what I'm doing with that, because I don't have a ton of time just due to the fact that I also still have a child in school. And so they need, access back and forth to the school, just because they're is in a special program, and so there's not like public transportation for that. And so there has been kind of this like, at one point in time, it felt very much like I was kind of taking on whoever would let me come and clean for them sort of vibe. And now I'm like, yeah, no, I need to be a little bit more intentional and be very like focused on more regular, consistent clients that are a better fit for me and like what I'm doing in my life. So the Seven of Cups here kind of shows those options, right? That I was kind of taking everything that was offered up to me, but it doesn't always mean that everything is as beneficial for me as I would have liked. If we move on, again, because I didn't have a spread, and I just had kind of the intentionality of like, what do I need to be doing? Kind of like, give me some advice. I have the Two of Cups here, which is about choosing and kind of like being in spaces and places that feel more intuitively aligned for me. Again, this is very much about, how we're feeling, kind of focusing on like the emotions and things like that, and kind of being a little bit more aware of really loving the connections and relationships that I'm building. And that is something that I've been very focused on with this business, and even just with my other business, with the readings and stuff like that. I am very intentional about like what kind of people I'm reading for and things like that, just because I don't want to be in places or spaces or, be around people that make me feel like something is wrong with me. I've had enough of my life where it's felt like that. I don't want that any longer. So I think that this is a very interesting dynamic to kind of get the Seven of Cups, and then now the Two of Cups, kind of like a, hey, you got to kind of move back into balancing, harmonizing, feeling a little bit more in control of the choices that you're making. Now, one of the big things was that one of the people that I'm considering letting go was someone that I had kind of taken on that could not really afford my services. So I had stated that I would donate my time, which I have been for the last several months. But I have kind of felt like this person is, again, very inconsistent and a little bit like treating me like they are taking advantage of me at points in time. So this is why I feel like I have this like Six of Pentacles card here, where it is kind of stating a little bit of this energy of kind of feeling like it's giving and receiving, but then also kind of feeling like things are a little bit out of whack, or like the energy is a little weird. Not everything and everybody really, from what I understand, doesn't ever want to feel like a charity case. And that's kind of how I feel, even though I'm the one that's like, giving them discounted rate and then also donating my time to assist them. It's been feeling a little bit like things are not aligned, or things are just not really settling in a way that feels comfortable for me. And I'm not sitting here to say like, oh, I want people that like are grateful that I'm doing. No, it's not anything like that. I just want to be in a space where I don't feel less than because of what I'm doing. To do what I do, it is something that I really, really love. And I want to be in spaces where people appreciate that love and the energy that I've put into it, the understanding, the knowledge, the skill that it requires. And so I thought it was interesting to kind of have this card here. But again, since I don't have like a spread, or I don't have like specific like positions that I've kind of identified, and as I was pulling the cards, I was like, okay, 6 cards just feels natural. It just felt right. So sometimes it'll be 5 cards, sometimes it'll be 10 cards. I don't know. It just really is about just kind of going with the flow and kind of seeing where the story goes. And that's what I really love about a DIY spread, is that it allows you to kind of build out a story and kind of see why you're pulling specific cards, or what is kind of going on with that. Now, underneath here, since I don't really have a spread, this is kind of saying like, hey, maybe I've overextended myself. I'm doing too much. I need to not continuously carry everything myself. So maybe I need to be very aware of what I'm taking on, because the 10 of Wands is very much a card of saying like, yeah, you're almost there, but like at what cost? And what are you doing? Like, where can you find a little bit better balance? What are you going to learn from this, of like not taking on everything all of the time and overextending yourself to the place to where you feel stressed and you feel exhausted. Which is something that has been coming up quite a bit like the last few weeks. And as I'm looking at my schedule for the next couple of weeks, I'm already tired just looking at it. So I'm slowly taking steps towards, taking back my time and trying to say, like, I do want to have more than one day off a week because I've been working sometimes every day. And so I'm wanting a little bit more time to kind of recuperate because I am kind of noticing I am very exhausted. I'm feeling very out of sync. I've been having a lot of stress and things like that. And that's not what I want with what I'm doing. And I understand having small businesses, there's always going to be some level of stress. But if I can manage it, or if I can just kind of like avoid a lot of extra stress because of things where I've made some choices that maybe aren't in alignment with myself any longer, or I'm feeling kind of like things are out of balance, then maybe this 10 of Wands energy can kind of be settled, if that makes sense. Now, again, it's interesting because, we have all these cards that are kind of identifying like, hey, this is what's going on. This is kind of the background. This is what your focus is going on here. And then having the 8 of Cups reversed, it's almost saying like, maybe I'm not actively choosing to walk away from certain things. It's kind of like I'm moving back into like, well, I got to choose and I got to do this. And there's so many different things and blah, blah, blah. And I think the 8 of Cups here is kind of saying like, you've already done what you need to do basically, and you're already like past it. So why not just walk away from it? Like you're ready to kind of emotionally move on, and yet there's this part of you that's like holding back. So it's almost like the cards are kind of saying like, you're exhausted, you know what you need to do, and you're still not doing it. So we're getting that story, right? And then finally, for the last card that I kind of pulled here is the Chariot reverse. So to me, this is almost saying like, stop, like you're doing too much, you're moving into this energy. So essentially, this can just be a reminder that maybe I need to not actively go into certain spaces or places. Maybe I'm just not aligned with the sort of energy that I had wanted to kind of, move into. Maybe there's something that is just not really making sense, because this is also the ruler or the card associated with Cancer. As someone that has their moon and also their Venus in Cancer, how I feel about a space or a place or in a relationship with someone is also extremely significant to my level of happiness. And so I think it's almost saying like, you already know, but you're like refusing to kind of move into what you need to do. So with the Chariot reverse being the only major card here, I would definitely say that it's almost saying like the power is back in my hands, where I really need to choose what sort of relationships and connections I'm building with this business, and really align myself in a way that feels a little bit more like I really love what I'm doing, because that is extremely significant and important to me as an individual with what I'm doing. I feel like because the work is so hard, you have to really love what you're doing in order for you to feel like it is something that is fulfilling. Other things here that I would kind of note is there are 3 Cups cards, right? So to me, this is saying there's a lot of emotionality, there's a lot of feeling. This is more about like, maybe I'm not listening to my intuition, especially given that we have the 7 of Cups and the 8 of Cups reversed. It's like saying like something's off here. You already know what you need to do, and yet maybe like you're kind of dragging your feet on it. You need to kind of move into really coming together with people and connections and, situations that feel a little bit more aligned moving forward. So, having the 10 of Wands here is also saying like, hey, you're overextending yourself. Things are kind of out of sync. Like you need to kind of pay attention to what all are you carrying? Are there things that maybe you need to put down? Are there things that maybe you need to kind of like redo or kind of shift and change as you possibly can? With the 6 of Pentacles, it's almost saying like, it doesn't always have to be so focused on the giving and giving and giving to people that maybe aren't always going to be receptive of what you are giving. And maybe they're just not ready to receive what you have. So while this may not be the clearest kind of like DIY spread, I think that it is something that can kind of give me something to think about, something to kind of focus on. And, again, like I said, it's very much about being very intuitive in the way that I am pulling the cards, like what I'm thinking about. It's how I do my readings for people too. I don't really like have a specific spread. I don't have anything. Like I just have them kind of focus on whatever they feel they need some guidance on, and then just kind of move from there to kind of see what is up, not just for themselves, but also for me. So I can kind of just figure out like, okay, well, what do we have here? So if I'm like, want to know kind of like what to expect today, I can just kind of, have that intention. So I have the Queen of Wands reversed. Then I have the Ace of Pentacles reversed. That's rude. And then I have the Knight of Wands reversed. And then I had Present. So this isn't a tarot card, but it is something that I've added into my deck just as a means of kind of giving me a little bit of like maybe just a reminder, or maybe just trying to focus on. So I can either look at it as, this is presently what's going on, or maybe it's a reminder of like just being present. So if I were to just kind of read this, like, yes, it's a 4-card spread. So I can either use like something I'm more familiar with, like what I need to know, do, release, whatever. Or I can just kind of look at it as like, maybe today there is like a lack of connection to what I'm doing, or maybe there's just not a lot of momentum in some ways, or maybe feeling a little bit disjointed. I feel like the Queen of Wands can be very much like a mover and a shaker. And as someone that struggles a little bit with like rejection sensitivity, I struggle so much to cut off certain connections, or, to kind of end certain relationships. So I know it'll be kind of challenging for me to have to confront having to kind of say, hey, moving forward, I will not be able to provide services for you. And I know that like I'm the boss, so like I get to choose who I am spending my very short amount of time with. And so I have to kind of choose the sort of relationships and clients that like make sense. So I think with the Queen of Wands, it's almost like saying like, okay, stop neglecting, feeling that sense of power, feeling a sense of like owning up what you can do. Maybe you're like wanting to just kind of like let it be, because it's like, we also have the Knight of Wands reversed. It's almost saying like, again, there's a lack of momentum, there's a lack of movement, there's a lack of like kind of choosing and going after things that you really want, because that is kind of how I felt like in the last month or so. The Ace of Pentacles is also significant here because it's also reversed. It's almost saying like, again, I'm kind of like keeping myself from having a new opportunity or a new like door opening to where it can feel a little bit more in alignment with what I want and what I need to plant the seeds that I need. So maybe I just really need to focus on being present instead of focusing so much on like, oh, well then that means I'm not going to have like this money on this or whatever, because as a Taurus, I do worry about those things quite a bit. So there's a little bit of this sense of maybe today I need to not be so passive aggressive. And if you watch my transits video, you'll see that Mars has just been literally sitting on top of my moon. So I've been trying to just avoid a lot of conflict or emotionality in conflict. I don't want to be I don't want to turn into someone that I'm not really, if that makes sense. So let me know if you guys do what I would call a DIY spread, or just kind of pulling cards in a way that feels organic or intuitive. And if it's something you've added into your practice, or do you prefer to have like a very structured, very like, not to say rigid, but maybe more like having like positions and kind of knowing, oh, card 1 means this, or card 2 is this, or, that sort of thing. Because I know especially when you're starting off, it can feel more comforting to have a very like, this means this, this means this, this means that. But some people can just kind of pick it up very intuitively and just kind of say like, boop, 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 okay, that makes sense. Or this is kind of giving me the message that I need. So let me know what you guys think of my quote unquote DIY spread video. Let me know how you like to pull cards, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. So thank you so much for joining me. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.